much none bigger than what Matthew Stafford did. Now, this is a guy that many people, Rob, have picked to win the MVP. Many people have picked to lead the Rams back to the Super Bowl. And he went out there and played lights out football. 20 for 26, Rob. 321 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. He had a passer rating of 156.1, which is, as you know, darn near perfect. Perfect is 158.3. And he became the first player in league history, Rob, he's 101 years old, to win his team debut, with a new team, while throwing for 300-plus yards and 3 touchdowns. He also had the highest passer rating for any player with in his debut with a new team. So they're gaga over Matthew Stafford in L.A. right now. You heard players, Jalen Ramsey, talking about how nice his debut was, and they're all in. The question is the guy that nicknamed Matthew Stafford Stat Padford instead of Matt Stafford.
You got to admit that's a great nickname.
A good one. Did you write that? Did you write that?
Yeah, but it was said in Detroit. It became like a thing.
So did you start it or were
people,
you didn't start it.
Okay. I wound up picking up on it and then using it all the time.
Were you the first one to make it public, like on the airwaves, or was that already being said?
It was being said a little bit, but not like, you know what I mean? I kind of like grabbed it and said, oh, yeah, no, this is like the perfect name, and we got to roll with this. So
for the first 3 years of the show, you've led us on to believe that you made up the nickname.
I didn't say that.
You just allowed us, though.
Never said that.
to go there.
But I grabbed it, and I just said, you hear something, and you're like, oh, no, that's got to stick around.
Michael Jackson didn't make up the moonwalk, but he took it from the dudes in the streets. But
you know what I'm saying, right?
At the Apollo, right?
But it's just it's one thing, Chris, if you don't have a platform, say you say something, but you don't have a platform.
No, right.
Right?
That's what I'm saying.
I'm putting it
Did you bring it public? Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I mean, yeah.
So obviously you've got your doubts about him. What do you think? There's not really to say other than he was great in game one.
He was great last night.
Do you think this is a sign of things to come for him?
This is me. He played well, very well. And he's played well in stretches. We talk about him all the time, Chris. He has Hall of Fame numbers. If you look at his numbers.
He really does, which is embarrassing considering how
he doesn't have any playoff wins.
Right.
And they've never won a division. He had a wide receiver, was a first ballot Hall of Famer in Calvin Johnson, who quit. You know what I mean? Like, you could go through all these
nice years under Jim Caldwell, too, as coach.
Right. And there were a couple times when they had the 5th best defense in the league, when Ndamukong Suh and people like that, Chris, where they had a shot and it never got done. And people in L.A., I get it. You guys want to get all excited. But let me just give you some reality. This is not new for the Rams, and you can go ahead and act like Matthew Stafford's the savior and nobody's ever done this. The Rams have scored, you ready, Chris? 30 points in at least 30 points in 75% of their games. The Rams tied a franchise record of 12 30-point games, right? Matching the record. Wait a minute, what season? 2018. This is when they went to the Super Bowl, 2018, Chris. Matching the total from the Rams in 1999. That year.
Wasn't that the 5th best offense? I'm
going to give you all the numbers. Here it is. Yeah. They scored 32.9 points a game. That by itself was 12th all time. 421.1 yards per game. 6,738 total. 12th best. The Rams were only the 4th team in NFL history to have at least 400 first downs. And here's the kicker. You ready? The guy you didn't want, the guy who was terrible, couldn't get you there. Jared Goff, the guy who got you there. Jared Goff had 2 seasons under McVay, Chris, with higher quarterback ratings, 100.5 in 2017 and 101.1 in 2018. And those quarterback ratings were higher than any season in which Matt Stafford played at least 10 games. He's never matched that. So they had a guy who was doing what Stafford did. So I know people are going to act like this is all brand new and my God, look at the Rams or whatever. No, they were there, Chris, and they got undressed. They were supposed to win that Super Bowl, the one that they got 3 points in. Right. Remember that when Bill Belichick undressed Sean McVay? All I'm saying is this is not new for the Rams. This is not new for the greatest show on turf when they had that offensive juggernaut. This franchise.
You talking about Kurt Warner and those guys?
I'm just saying, yeah. I mean, they score points.
Of course.
I'm just saying they score points. But the Rams team in 2018 that went to the Super Bowl, I just gave you all the numbers. They scored 30 or more points in at least 75% of their games.
Here's the thing, though, Rob, and I hear you. I mean, you are right in like this notion that the Rams were just,
a downtrodden team,
right. Like they had no quarterback to speak of for the last few years, and it was a mess. And poor Sean McVay had nobody to run his plays and all that stuff. I get you, and there's truth to what you're saying. But I'll say this, Rob. I think what the Rams found out and what they came to believe. Now, Goff will have his chance to disprove them in Detroit, but what they came to believe about Jared Goff, Rob, was that he couldn't do it without a top-flight running game. That's really what it was. Because, when they went to the Super Bowl that year, and that offense was so great, the question was, is it Goff or is it Gurley? And obviously both of them contributed. But, Gurley was a huge part. I mean, Gurley was the man his first few years in the league. And the feeling was that was really it kind of like Dak early in his career with Ezekiel Elliott. It was like Goff, and Goff was more prolific than Dak.
And you remember how bad Goff was his first year, Chris. It
was horrible under Jeff Fisher. Everybody put that on Jeff Fisher. Right.
I thought he was a bust. You remember that? Like he was that bad.
Yeah, he looked bad. But again, that obviously was Fisher. But you're right. Once he got with McVay, he looked good. But when Gurley got hurt in the knee injury and he was never the same, that's when Goff began. His numbers still were pretty good, but he did show a decline, Rob. And really where he showed it was throwing interceptions. Like the year they went to the Super Bowl, Rob, with a run game. And Gurley, I know, was hurt in the playoffs, but C.J. Anderson did his thing. But 32 touchdowns, 12 picks. The year before that, Rob, 28 touchdowns, 7 picks for Goff.
No,
the next year when they don't have, 2019, when they don't have the run game, he's 22 TDs, 16 picks. And then last year, 20 TDs, 13 picks. So they thought he was more of a manager who, he was better than your average manager because he could throw it fairly well. But rightly or wrongly, they just thought he was limited. And if we don't get that run game to where it's top 5 in the league anymore, then he's not going to be able to carry us to big heights. And they feel like Stafford can be that guy. Now, he looked like that guy yesterday. We'll see if it continues. But I just think that's the difference, Rob, between Goff and Stafford in the eyes of the Rams.
Yeah, the only problem is Stafford has no resume for what they're asking him to do. He has a horrible record against winning teams in his career.
I think it's 865 or something
like a ridiculous number. And if you want to put that on the Lions, that's fine. But it is what it is. And he wasn't able to win. There were a couple of games, Chris, in his Detroit career. Forget about the ownership. Forget about management. Forget about coaching. When you're on the field and all you got to do is win a football game and you get a playoff spot and you win the division and you get a home playoff game. Do you know what I mean? Like you could use that as an excuse all the time, but he was on the cusp 2 or 3 times where if he wins a game, it changes Lions history, right? And he wins a division and he gets a home playoff game and a bye. And it didn't happen. And that's what they're hoping. We're a guy who's never played in a big game in his entire career or never won a big game. So we'll see as we go forward. Putting up numbers during the regular season, I'm not surprised. Last night, there were a couple wide open receivers. He's going to make that. He has a great arm, Chris, and he's put up numbers in Detroit on bad teams, right? So he's going to put up numbers.
Right.
Will he win you the big game that you're looking for? I don't believe it's going to happen. We got a long way to go.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we talked about it last week. I had Stafford as the quarterback, the third highest quarterback as far as pressure being on him. You actually had him first. So
right.
the pressure is
but
on.
But it's long term, right.
Right.
Long
and the
term.
thing is, you know, if you're right and he has a great regular season, that's still not going to answer everybody's questions.
No, it's not because he came to get to the Super
playoffs.
Bowl.
Right. Now,
Right.
I picked them to get to the NFC Championship and lose to Tampa Bay.
Okay.
If they do that, then, you know, that's a good year.
It's a start.
But
He's got 3 years.
He's
right.
got time.
I mean, but would you agree that his goal, they brought him here to win a Super Bowl? They've already been to a Super Bowl.
Because to your point, they were going far with Jared Goff.
Right.
You know, they were playing well. They got to one Super Bowl with Goff and, you know, obviously made the playoffs a few other years. So it is Super Bowl or bust, not necessarily this year, but over
within
the next
3 years,
with
whatever it
Matthew
is that he's
Stafford.
going to be in L.A., right.